this video, we will learn how to add and configure a rich text field as an inline editor and a rich text field as an external editor. There are two rich text attributes that are added to our claim model library. The first one that we will be working with is the injuries incurred, which we will add and configure as an inline editor. To do this, let us right-click on Reporting and insert a new group below, calling it Injuries. Once this group has been created, we can drag Injuries Incurred into the newly created group. To configure our group, we will select to show the heading with no indentation. Expanding on the group and selecting Injuries Incurred, it has already defaulted the type of it to be an inline editor. We may choose to change the prompt of this field to be description of injuries and perhaps provide a short help on what is expected for the user to complete. Selecting on the help, we can choose to check the short help and provide some guidance on what the expectation is. Short summary of injuries incurred. Now that the basics of the field is set up, we may choose to provide a default value to provide guidance to the user on how to complete this field, or leave it as is. If we want to provide default value, we can check on the option, open the default value dialog box, and insert some default text that is a starting point for the user to complete. Once the default text has been set up, we may configure the width and the height of the field to take in the text that we have provided. I can set the width of the field to be long and leave the height as is. Whilst this default text is not visible in the design pane in Studio, it will be present in the data capture presented to the user. User experience of an inline editor without a default value and one with a default value. To add the external editor field to the dialog, we're going to start by right-clicking on Injuries and inserting a group below, calling it Accident Description. Once the group has been added, drag and drop the description into the newly created group. Expanding on the group, we're first going to set the group level properties by selecting the heading and no indentation. And then secondly, at the description level, there are a few things that we want to change here for a better user experience. Firstly, let's remove the prompt from this field, highlighting the prompt and hitting a single space to remove it, then selecting Enter to clear the prompt. We are doing this as the group heading encapsulates what is required of this field. Secondly, I want to set the help for this field. Selecting on the help, we will insert a short help, guiding the user to open the document in Word and complete the narration of the accident. Focusing on the properties specifically associated with the rich text editor, we will start by selecting the type to be that of an external editor. The external editor has a variety of options that can be set on how the user interacts with this field. The setting that we are going to apply to this exercise is to keep the external options as these default options. For this exercise, I have created a new template as a subscription and called it Accident Description. This template will be used as the default template for the external editor, giving the user a starting point to complete the description of the accident. To do this, we return back to our dialog, navigate to the properties of our external editor, and select the option Default Template. From the selection point, you will be presented with a drop-down to select the subscription that will be used as the default template. Accident description is the first on the list, which I will select to be the default template of this field. Whilst this default template is not visible in the design pane in Studio, it will be present in the data capture presented to the user. The advantage of configuring the field using this approach is that it gives the user the flexibility of having a starting point to update or the freedom to override by uploading their own document and thereafter editing it further. Also note that unlike the internal editor, where the default value comprised of data placeholders, when using a default template in the external editor, the template is first generated and then presented to the user for further editing. User experience of an external editor without a default value and one with a default value. In this video, we learned how to add and configure a rich text field as an inline editor and a rich text field as an external editor.